Welcome to Get to the Hook. Merry Christmas to all who celebrate.
Yeah.
I am your co-host, Charles Latibaudier.
And I'm your co-host, Eric Colley.
And we've got some gifts for you to open up. Some gifts about 2024.
The best of the year and the
Exactly.
worst.
Oh, we're going to do the worst too?
A little bit.
Oh, all right. I really like that. All right. I'm in for the best, but I'm always up for
The flops.
for a couple of flops.
The misses.
Yeah, but you know what? Listen, you're going to flop sometimes, but you got to flop to get to the good stuff.
That's right.
So we're going to start with the good stuff.
We're going to start with the good stuff. Let's just get the big thing out of the way. Taylor Swift. It was her year. So was last year.
So was
Every
last
year.
year.
Is her year.
So I'm waiting to see what year going forward is not going to be Taylor Swift.
Well, I'm curious about 2025. So big year for her. Of course, the Eras Tour just recently ended. Biggest tour ever, $2 billion.
It is
150 shows.
mind-boggling.
On, 5 continents, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was massive. And it was, whether you like Taylor Swift or not, you got to give her credit. She worked really hard and created a cultural moment that everybody knew about, everyone had an opinion about, whether you were tired of hearing about it, whether you were so excited about it.
I got to tell you, I've said it on our shows that I'm tired of hearing about it, but the reality is it never lost steam. That's
Never.
the thing that was amazing about it. The excitement from her fans was the same on the first show in Arizona nearly 2 years ago.
Till the very end.
It was till the very end in Vancouver just a few weeks ago.
And then it became a thing, like a pop culture thing, where even people who didn't care that much were like, oh, well, I should try and go. Like you felt like you were missing out on something if you didn't go. And not just that. Of course, she still was all over the headlines with Travis Kelce, still going strong, and dropped a new album. The Tortured Poets Department came out, sold over 2.5 million copies in its first week. Second biggest first week ever behind Adele.
And even though it wasn't as how would I say this? Even some of her fans felt like it wasn't her best, but it didn't matter. Like there was so much momentum. She could do for her subpar album.
Oh, you were attracting the wrath of the Swifties here.
I heard some
I
people
think
say
it's
that.
the best album I've ever heard since her last album.
My point is, it doesn't really matter at this point.
It doesn't.
But I think I do think it matters to her. And you're right. I'm really interested to see what happens in 2025 because I wouldn't be surprised if she just drops a whole new album at some point.
I think she'll do a Taylor's version. I think fans think Reputation, her 2017 album, will be next, or her self-titled debut album. That cool. I think she should not release an album next year, or maybe not till like the end of the year.
She needs
to let people miss her a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, her hardcore fans, of course, will never get tired.
Right.
But I think a lot of the other people just, after 2 straight years of constant albums, constant touring, constant headlines,
let it breathe.
A little break.
Yeah.
Just not even in a bad way. And I'm sure she's got to be exaused.
Yeah, has to be. I mean,
just
really,
the physicality of doing that tour.
The physicality, and with very few breaks. I mean, there were a couple where she had, a week or a month,
and even
weeks or a month off.
She was expected to go to Travis's games, or they were seen out together. She was never out of the public eye for more than a few days, it felt like.
She's definitely been burning it at both ends, as I say. So,
but it was her world, and we all just lived in it this year. And so we'll see what happens with her in 2025. Maybe they get engaged. Maybe they get married.
But even look, that's one of those things will probably happen. But professionally is what I really want. Like, they're either going to get engaged or they're going to break up.
Yeah, we're not that invested in her personal life like
really
that.
Not. But I am interested in finding out what she does musically next.
And will it be bigger? Because you keep thinking she can't top herself, and she consistently has. Can it get even bigger? I don't know how that's even possible at this point.
But you would have said that
I would have said that
ago,
a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But talking about Tortured Poets Department, I want to play a little bit of the first song because it's going to tie into the next thing we're going to talk about. This was the number 1 hit from Tortured Poets Department with Post Malone. This is Fortnite.
And for a fortnight there we were, forever running to you, sometimes ask about the weather now.
I wanted to play that song in particular because, Taylor Swift started as a country star and then fully crossed over to become a huge pop star. Mm-hmm. But in 2024, it was going the other way, and Post Malone was one of the big examples of that. Went full country, scored a huge number 1 hit, his biggest hit in years with I Had Some Help with Morgan Wallen, had Pour Me a Drink with Blake Shelton. Like, he was just the country dude this year.
It was almost like they're 2 ships passing in the night. The fact that they did that fortnight together and she's going up to incredible pop heights. And then you saw Post have incredible success in country.
He did, and it was not that Post Malone was flopping or his career was over or anything like that, but his last album, Austin, didn't really do that well, certainly by his standards. And it seemed like, okay, his moment's maybe past. I mean, he'll always be famous, he can always tour, but he's not going to have any more hits. Then he went country and racked up some huge hits. I don't think he was even the most famous example of it this year, though.
No,
one of the biggest
there's
conversation starters.
someone else. A lot of people from Texas.
People from Texas talking about it.
Uh-huh.
Beyonce, this is Texas Hold'em.
This ain't Texas. Ain't no Hold'em. So lay your cards down, 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 down.
Beyonce going country generated so much conversation.
It really did. And beyond the conversation about her, whether or not she was getting her accolades from the country music world, the album, regardless, and I didn't even listen to it as, I started listening to the album as, all right, can she do country authentically? And then I was just listening to it as an album, like, all right, I just want to hear the songs. I liked the album. I really liked the album.
It's not a current country album. I think that's the difference between Beyonce and Post Malone. Is Post Malone made a very Nashville machine country radio ready album.
Right.
It was designed to be a successful country record. Beyonce was making an artistic statement about country music and its roots in black music, and
so then
it was an artistic statement that wasn't designed to be played on country radio.
Right. And I guess I think that's absolutely true when you listen to her album and Post album. So if that's the case, she and her fans, yes, you, the Beehive, don't really have a place to complain about.
You are coming for Swifties and the Beehive today?
No.
Oh my God! You want to go for the Barbs, the BTS army?
Guess who's not going to have a great 2025? I think that's me. No, I just think if you don't make your album or your single for radio in that genre, then you're not going to get the buzz that, because radio is still
right.
And it's fine. You can make it. And the reality is we haven't really heard Beyonce complaining about.
But you never
country.
do.
Right. She's not going to complain. She lets critics, her fans, all do that for her. But I don't think they really have a place to complain. If you don't make an album that country radio isn't going to play.
That's not the audience she was aiming for.
Yeah.
It really wasn't. And
she got her audience, and she probably got some country fans.
Sure.
But it was never going to be the thing on country radio.
Right. No, the thing on country radio is something that we kind of discovered, most people, through Beyonce's Carter album.
I'd never heard of him until I was
she
listening
put him
to that
on.
album.
We're going to talk about him shortly. Before we do, another example of country and pop and hip hop just kind of mashing together. And this may be the new thing going forward. This song just came out a few weeks ago. Have you heard Quavo's new song?
I did, yes.
Quavo from the Migos with Luke Bryan, huge country star, and Teddy Swims, R&B pop white dude, released this song called Georgia Ways.
That's just how I was raised, stuck in my Georgia ways. Don't care about what you say, some shit won't never change.
Is this going to be the big sound of the back half of the 2020s?
We were already moving in that direction, right? I mean, Morgan Wallen sort of
There's
opened the door to that,
right?
Being, more traditional sort of bro country sound, and then really adopting.
He had some
hip hop,
some trap elements
in his,
to his music. It's the thing, and it worked for Shaboozey. Like we said, Beyonce kind of put his name out there on a bigger level with Cowboy Carter, and then he capitalized on that moment with a bar song, Tipsy, 19 weeks at number one on the Hot 100 this year, tied for the longest running number one hit of all time. It was just a moment.
It really,
and I don't think it'll be an isolated moment.
No, because it's selling, and
you've got Morgan Wallen. His albums dominate for years on end.
The one thing we know about the music industry is if something's working, they will continue to do it, and they will beat it into the ground until it's not working, and then they'll do it a little bit longer, and then it'll change.
And then they'll wait a few years, and then it's nostalgia, and you revive it and bring it back again. So that might be the big new sound. Let's talk about new sounds this year.
Before we move on, are we going to do more Shaboozey later?
We're going to talk about him now.
Oh, we're going to talk about him now. All right, good.
Go ahead.
No,
I'm not playing the songs. We've played it so many times on this show now.
And it's been played so much on the radio.
I can't hear it anymore.
I've got beef with you.
About what?
I was thinking about, we had this debate several weeks ago in the office, and I've been thinking about it ever since. And
I've been living rent-free in your head.
Yes. That you want to say to me that a song like a bar song,
Yeah.
having 19 weeks plus at number one, is the same as a song having 19 consecutive weeks. It's not the same thing. I didn't realize until we had that discussion that day that a bar song was not consecutively
No, it
19
hit number
weeks.
one, dropped out for a week or two, went back to number one, dropped out for a week, went back.
So let me ask something. When what was the last one was
For Old Town Road by
Old
Lil
Town
Nas X. Another country-ish
Mhm.
hip-hop song.
those were
Spent
consecutive
19 weeks at number one.
those were consecutive weeks, right?
Yes.
Okay. And before that was Boyz II Men and Mariah Carey.
There's a couple songs that spent that and Despacito.
Were those consecutive weeks?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But
Don't tell me that they're not the same thing.
I'll tell you why.
They're not
I'll
the
tell you
same
why
thing.
I think a bar song is bigger. I think it's better to do what Shaboozey did.
I
Because Lil Nas X was a moment that blew up. It dominated for those 19 weeks. It was incredible. And then people got tired of it. It dropped off. It actually fell off the chart relatively quickly. Shaboozey's song's still in the top 10 right now. It's been there since early summer because he was number one. And then, somebody would drop a surprise release. Some huge single would come out and be huge for a week. And then people would forget about it and Shaboozey would go back. He had the staying power that while he wasn't in number one for all 19 weeks, he was in the top two for like 30 weeks.
I'm not saying it's not impressive what Shaboozey's song did. It is impressive.
To
it's not
survive
the same,
a challenge and then come back and take it back again.
It's not the same impressive as
Right.
a song that does it consecutively. It just isn't. It just isn't. I need
He has
you to get on
more
board with
staying
this.
power. People keep trying to take him down and he just keeps coming back.
So if a song is number one for 5 weeks and then in the top 5 for another, let's say 20 weeks,
Uh-huh.
that's more impressive than a song being number one for 19 consecutive weeks.
If it falls off really quickly, kind of, yeah.
Well, we can't fall off quickly. It was there. It was number one for 19
Yeah, but then once
weeks.
you're done, you drop and you can be off the chart in 6 weeks. Whereas another song could be in the top 10 for a year. That's way more impressive. Longevity is the key. Being number one, anybody can do
All
that.
right, we need. I need to hear feedback on this. I want to know what you guys think about this. I don't know, drop
'Cause
in
most songs,
comments.
once they get knocked out, no matter how long they've been there, then they're done. To get knocked out and be like, nope, I'm not done yet, and you
Cast your
keep
vote.
going back.
Cast your vote in the comments, whatever platform you're on. I want, because this is. I'm gonna lose sleep about this through the entire holidays.
It doesn't matter. I mean, what's more impressive? A song that peaks at number 5 and spends 30 weeks in the top 20, or a song that debuts at number 1 and is off the chart in 5 weeks? I mean, one's a number 1 hit and the other one's not. But what's more impressive?
That's a yes. No. Those are different numbers that you're throwing at me.
Okay.
But yes, okay.
A lot of big new artists hit this year. Some brand new, some had been around for a while, but really had a breakout moment. And I think that might signal a little bit of a changing of the guard. That for the last 15 years, it's been Taylor Swift and Drake and Bruno Mars and Justin Bieber. And we've had all these same pop stars, Ariana Grande. They've been so big for so long. Nothing lasts forever, especially and particularly in pop music.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that any of their careers are over or they don't have hits or anything like that. But
You need some fresh faces.
if you're
that are
if you're
actually having
15
big
years old right
success.
now, if you're 15 in 2025 and you're a pop music consumer, that's the perfect
Sure.
age for it. You were born in 2010. Justin Bieber had already had hits at that point. Taylor Swift was like on her 3rd album.
Mm-hmm.
You can still like their music. I mean, there's plenty of people we liked from the 60s
Yeah.
when we were growing up. But you want your own people closer to your age, people
Right.
who haven't been around for so long. And we're going to start seeing that now. I mean, I still think of like Ariana Grande as a younger singer, but it's been 11
She's
years,
been
12 years
around.
since her first hit.
Right.
If you're a teenager, that's your whole life.
And the reality is, when you get older, to people who are in their teens right now,
They're not listening to it.
in the early teens, when you look back, and this is every generation does this, whatever music you're listening to between the ages of 10 and 17, 18, that's your music. That's your era. And so, yeah, there's got to be some new people. So for people who are in that age range now,
You need
you need those fresh faces. And you got some this
Yeah,
year.
there was a bunch this year. It'll be interesting to see who sticks around and who doesn't. Shaboozey, I think, will have a decent career. He will probably, obviously, never have anything as big as a bar song
Sure.
ever again. I hope he gets some more hits. Benson Boone broke out this year with his song "Beautiful Things." Tommy Richmond was a new rapper, white R&B rapper guy. Came out with the song "$1 Million Baby." Another big one, and we just heard him on the Quavo song, Teddy Swims.
Yeah.
Who technically, again, talking about longevity, Billboard said he had the #1 song of the year, even though his song was only #1 for 1 week. But it spent 40+ weeks in the top 10.
Okay.
This is Lose Control.
Don't you know I lose control when you're not next to me?
The song spent almost the entirety of 2024 in the top 10. And that's the hard part when you come out with a song that big that really puts you on the map. His follow-up song, The Door, only got to #24, and it was still a decent-sized hit. But his second single struggled. Benson Boone's second song only got to like #32, I think. Tommy Richmond barely cracked the top 40. All these guys came out with really big hits this year and then didn't really follow them up. And that's not to say that they can't.
Yeah.
It's still
They
early
could,
days.
and maybe they won't, but the people who are in their teens now will still remember Teddy Swims.
Oh, forever.
Yeah. They're going to, and they'll
I
play
mean, that song might still be in the top 10 by the time they're 30. I don't know. That song's never going away. So there's a lot of the new guys this year. There were 2 women who really hit and kind of dominated the pop scene, and I don't think either of them is going away anytime soon. One, let's do the first one. Chappell Roan had a banner year, and this was her biggest hit, Good Luck, Babe.
Yeah, just like the world, just to solve the feeling. Good luck, babe. Oh, good luck.
And before we talk about them, let's do, not that they're directly competitors, but the other big breakout A-list female pop star of the year. Sabrina Carpenter had a great year. Not chart-wise her biggest hit. This song only got to #3, but her most famous song, and maybe the song of the year for a lot of people, this is Espresso.
Now he's thinking about me every night. Oh, is it that sweet? I guess so. Say you can't sleep, baby. I know that's that me espresso.
Chappell put a lot of people off in the year.
Yeah.
You know, she blew up just like overnight. I mean, she'd been around for years, but just her career just went right into the stratosphere this year. Her album Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess, which Good Luck Babe's not even on that album.
Oh, really?
It was meant to be the first single from her next album, but then when that song blew up, people discovered the album, and then Hot to Go and Pink Pony Club and all those songs took off. So I don't know if they're waiting for her next album or if it's not done yet. I don't know. But as quickly as people latched onto her, she was like, leave me alone. I don't want you to take pictures with me. I don't want you to talk to me. She's been really annoyed with questions on the red carpet, and sometimes deservedly.
And someone, I
I'm
get
not.
it.
I'm not thinking. I don't think she's always wrong.
What I like about her is that I don't think she's the only young artist, I would say the only young celebrity, period, in whatever field,
Yeah.
who feels the way she feels. I respect the fact that she's just honest and says it. I think there are a lot of celebrities who, when they're early in their careers and they come into this, are a little put off by all the attention. They just can't say it because their publicists tell them, don't do that. Don't do that. You have to, embrace this. You have to do whatever the fans need you to do and go to do whatever interviews you have to do. She's honest about it.
She is.
Like, I want to play music and I don't want to do all that other stuff.
And even Sabrina Carpenter, who hasn't really had that persona, said in interviews, she's like, I will talk about my relationships and my music, but I don't want to talk about them in interviews.
Right.
Like there's certain lines that I don't cross being interviewed. And it's okay to have boundaries. Chappell is right about that. I think that's, especially for younger celebrities now in the social media age, people just feel this sort of entitlement to every little thing. And they also want content for themselves.
It's fine to have boundaries, but I think the label will tell you, yeah, you can have boundaries up until it starts affecting your sales. And for Chappell, it hasn't.
It hasn't yet. I could see her, I think she'll be around and will have a fan base for the rest of her life if she wants it. I don't know if she'll have a ton of hits because I think she will choose not to. I think she could be like, I'm not playing this game.
Do you think she will change her? No, I guess she wouldn't. I mean, if
the next album or next single doesn't do as well, is she like, okay, I'm going to play the game now?
Yeah,
I don't think she.
No, it doesn't
she
seem
seems more
like she would.
genuine.
Yeah, it doesn't
it's funny.
seem like she would.
I was thinking like with Chappell and Sabrina both being kind of two of the big figures of this year. You've seen this a lot in music where, and this is not just to pit like women against women or whatever, but it's funny that you get at around the same time two women who will become big pop stars, and one is like
about this,
the quirky, artsy, left of center one, and the other one's like the sexy, mainstream pop
This
star.
is the Madonna and Cyndi Lauper of our time.
Lady Gaga and
Or
Katy Perry
They are.
at their time. You know, Katy Perry was, you know, shooting fireworks out of her boobs, and Lady Gaga was wearing meat dresses.
Right.
You know, even it's not
It's
exactly
funny.
the same, but like Britney Spears was the sexualized teen, and Christina Aguilera was the you know, older feeling talented one.
Right.
I mean, they
Even
weren't
though
exactly
she
the same
eventually
persona, but yeah,
did the sexualized thing also.
sure.
It's funny you said the Katy Perry thing because when I listen to Espresso, all I think is Katy Perry is kicking herself somewhere going, how come I didn't get this song?
I don't think it would have mattered if she did. I
No?
think she could have made that exact same song and just. People are interested in Sabrina Carpenter. For one thing, she opened on the Eras tour.
Yeah.
She had the relationship with Barry Keoghan. It was just that drama for young pop.
So you're
fans.
saying you don't
Katy
think
Perry is
that
a
Katy
40-year-old
Perry-
mom
Right.
who's been with Orlando Bloom for a long time now. It just the drama's not there anymore.
Hmm.
That's what happens to pop stars.
But
That's why it's hard to stay
But then you're
relevant.
saying that it's not so much the song, it's the person who's delivering it that they are.
Oh, of
It's
course.
the
How
total
many
package.
older artists release great music that no one's going to play because they're old? We want to hear your old hits. Doesn't matter how good you are.
This is true.
That happens to everybody eventually.
There's like 3 or 4 Rolling Stones albums to back that up.
That it might be even if they made a song, an album as good as their '70s stuff, the Stones, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Radio's not going to play it. We got to talk about the other really big thing this year, and it's sort of up there with Taylor Swift as the biggest music moment of 2024. Kendrick versus Drake.
Ooh. Wow.
Nobody saw this coming. It started all when Future and Metro Boomin released the song Like That with Kendrick Lamar, and Kendrick called out Drake and J. Cole for calling them the big
Right.
three: Drake, Kendrick, and J. Cole. Yeah, and
Which
Kendrick was like, nope, no big three, just me.
Which I gotta imagine when Drake and J. Cole made that song, they probably thought this was a complimentary thing.
Yeah.
This is great. Of course, we're including you, Kendrick. You're one of.
Kendrick,
Nope.
So then
Nope.
that
Best laid
came
plans.
out. Then all the diss tracks. Remember that one weekend where they were dropping
One
tracks like
weekend.
every 5 hours?
It was
It was Drake
crazy.
had Push Ups, Family Matters, Heart Part 6. Kendrick was dropping Euphoria, Meet the Grams. J. Cole dropped 7-Minute Drill and then apologized and withdrew
then
it.
withdrew the whole
deleted
thing.
it off streaming services. He's like, you know what? I waded into these waters and I realized I was over my head. I'm going back for sure. But the whole thing, it was back and forth, and then it just ended in a complete TKO when Kendrick dropped this, Not Like Us.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
That
They
song,
not like us.
beyond just being a savage diss track, it's so catchy.
Yeah.
It went far beyond what any diss track had ever
At
done.
first, like the appeal of it was, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's saying that about Drake. And now, I just listen to it because it just
It's just catchy, and it's
the DJ Mustard. Come on, you got to hand it to him. That
mustard on the beat.
yeah.
I mean, it just that song will kind of forever be the defining sound of 2024. I think that's going to be a time capsule. Anytime you hear that, you'll be like, oh my god, you will remember the feud, the beef, all of it.
And even now, when I listen to GNX, and I'll listen to that album, front to back. At some point when it's done, or maybe sometimes even in the middle of it, I'm like, let me just jump over to Not Like Us.
You gotta
for
take
a
a Not Like
second.
Us break.
Yeah, like I'll go right after TV off. Go like, you know what? Let me just go play the other Mustard track,
Yeah.
and then
I give Kendrick credit for not putting Not Like Us on that album.
Yeah.
He easily could have driven the streams up, made his numbers even bigger than they were. But that song was not intended for that album. It didn't.
it was intent.
It's not what he wanted it to be. And he's like, nope, that was not his artistic integrity. And you got to respect
It
it.
was intended to be the nuclear bomb that it was,
It was.
and it shut down that war. And
We are
That's-
still in the fallout.
by the way, that's the other big thing in 2025. Aside from what Taylor's going to do, what is Drake going to do, and
Because
when does he do it? And he has to do it.
well, he's been
2025.
supposedly doing this album with Party Next Door, another Canadian artist. They were going to do a collab album. Does he still just do that and go ahead with business as usual? Because it's so weird because Drake has been the most dominant artist up there with Taylor, sometimes more with his streaming power for 15 years now. And suddenly it seems like not just will his next album be as big as his old albums or whatever, the future of his career seems to hang on it.
Although I will say, and the reason I say he's got to do something in 2025, and I don't think the collab album with Party Next Door is
No.
going to do it. He's going to have to do something solo. He should, because obviously we all thought, all right, Kendrick buried him, but then when the Spotify numbers came out at the end of the year, Drake was still
He's still
by
Drake.
far the best streaming rapper. So
But how much of that is his old catalog?
So
It certainly is old catalog.
it certainly is old
You
catalog.
don't want to be a legacy act
But the fact that
in your 30s.
in the midst of Kendrick having the year he did, having the moment he did, having that song that, as everyone felt, buried Drake, that there were people, even though they were probably doing it quietly, still streaming Drake's music. So to me, that says your fan base is still there and they want music.
Yeah.
So if you don't give it to them now, then it starts to feel like, maybe Kendrick really did scare him off.
I mean, the lawsuits or the whatever
Yeah.
that didn't help his
Well,
cause.
that was not a great move.
Well, we'll see if Drake comes back next year. Some people who came back this year, there were some big ones. Hosier, who had the song Take Me to Church 10 years ago, got his first #1 hit in 2024 with Too Sweet. Linkin Park came back with a new singer.
Yeah.
Oasis got back together. We'll see how that
by
goes.
the time you're listening to
It's
this,
probably already over.
they could be over. We'll
yeah.
just say that.
Eminem, Bruno Mars came back with some new hits this year. And somebody that was really unexpected, and another person that was really part of the big zeitgeist of 2024, Charlie XCX,
Oh yeah.
who had a big pop moment 10 years ago. She sang on Iggy Azalea's Fancy. She wrote a bunch of songs. She had a song called Boom Clap was a hit. And then she's just taken her goodwill that she's kept with her fan base and blew up this year with Brat Summer. And this song, one of her many viral hits this year, this is Apple.
I guess the apple could turn yellow or green. There's lots of different nuances to you and to me.
I think her album cover with that stark green with the word
Yeah.
Brat, I think Pantone's making it a color? Like an official
I
Charlie
read that,
XCX Brat green. That's when you know you've made it.
Yeah, when you
When
get
you
your
own a
own
color?
Damn.
Yeah. So she had a big comeback this year. Some people who might want to come back next year. We got some scandals we're going to get through real quickly. Diddy, not a great year for Diddy.
Don't
2025 is not looking better.
Don't expect any music from Diddy.
No, Jay-Z now has been sucked into that with a new
Yeah.
lawsuit.
Although
saying
I
that-
will say that Jay hasn't been making music in a while.
Sure.
But look, he's standing defiant against this and says he didn't do it and he's going to fight it in court. So if he had music he wanted to drop, he would probably do it because that more than anything would show I'm unbothered by this.
Right.
I'm doing whatever I do.
Well, and the nature of the allegations against him, it's not just about him putting new music out and getting hits. It's protecting his legacy.
Right.
Because that's the kind of thing that can sink you and you just become like, Diddy. No one's bumping Diddy songs anymore. Also, minor scandal, Justin Timberlake with his DWI
Yeah.
and the infamous This Is Gonna Ruin the World tour. That wasn't the worst thing to happen to Justin Timberlake this year, though, I don't think. Let's talk about the flops. Real quick. Everything
okay.
I thought it was, his new album, he took too long.
Yeah.
Didn't change his sound up enough. It just sounded like a mid-2000s Timberland album. Came and went pretty quickly.
So what he discovered, I think, his tour was still successful.
Yeah, and it
is
always
that
will be.
This means you it's the L word.
Legacy. You're a legacy act.
You're a legacy act.
Play the hits. Remind me of high school and college. I don't want to hear your new
That's
stuff.
got to be rough for an artist,
Especially
right?
somebody as young as him.
I mean-
when you're in your 40s and you're like, the best part of my life is over.
Yeah, it's got to feel like, it's nice to know that I can always go out and tour and I can make money that way, but you don't. It's like being forced into retirement.
Yeah. Especially when you don't
You
want to
don't
be.
want to feel that way.
You
yeah.
want people to hear your new music because you're still excited about it. And you're like, yeah, but play Sexy Back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Cry Me a
Uh-huh.
River. I don't want to hear your new song.
Yeah.
That also happened. Katy Perry this year left American Idol to launch her big pop star comeback. Released her album 143. Nobody cared. That thing, not just that it didn't do well. People hated it when the videos came out.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing. They were like, "Look at this old lady trying to be a 20-something pop star,"
That sucks.
which is
man.
ridiculous.
I
'cause
think
again,
that sucks for Katy Perry.
I think she just turned 40 this year.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a cold game.
It's
And it's
harsh. Also,
Cold game for young people.
a surprising one, Dua Lipa, kind of tanked. Her new album, Radical Optimism.
I am shocked by that because again, there is a young person who's very attractive.
who was poised to be
who-
the breakout star of the decade
Yeah.
after her 2020 album, Future Nostalgia, and all the hits from that. The new album, the highest charting song was number 11. Most of them debuted and fell off really quickly, and nobody cared.
What went wrong?
I don't know. Maybe it was just other things were
Just the
happening.
songs or
The songs were not super inspired. They were just kind of her usual dance pop, but not quite as good as the last
Yeah.
record. And then you had Sabrina Carpenter, and it's like, well, who needs Dua Lipa?
that's true.
The new artist came along. It's doggy music.
The market was full.
Yeah. Before we go, let's a little bit looking ahead to 2025.
Mhm.
Some things we know are happening. The Weeknd is releasing his new album Hurry Up tomorrow on January 24th. Although the first single didn't do too well, the second one did okay. Also, Weeknd getting a little long in the tooth for a pop star. I'm
This is
not saying
crazy.
anything, but
No, I know what you're saying, and you are absolutely right. It's just crazy to me.
I know. To
to
think of these
think that
people from
these
the 2010s as like, you've been around
Right.
10 years now.
Yeah,
And
like
it's hard being a pop star on top for 10 years. SZA is releasing the deluxe version of her SOS album, the Lana version. She's been teasing it for like over a year now. Finally, officially, a teaser trailer came out. It is going to happen.
that.
Allegedly.
I think that's going to blow up.
That's going
right?
to be huge.
Right.
Kendrick, we got him at the Super Bowl.
And plus, they're going on tour together.
They're going on
Kendrick
tour
and SZA.
together. That's going to be massive. That'll be the Eras Tour of 2025,
Right.
kind of. Morgan Wallen almost certainly releasing a new album this year. Already released some songs from it. That's going to be huge. And let's leave a new artist who's just now blowing up. We'll see what happens with her. She opened on the Eras Tour like Sabrina Carpenter. Some people think she's kind of just Taylor Swift light. J.J. Abrams, the film director, his daughter Gracie, her song is blowing up. She is becoming maybe the new big breakout star of 2025. This is her song, That's So True.
Ooh, bet you think that she is so cool. Kicking back on your couch, making eyes from across the room.
It's so strange to hear that like Taylor Swift is now just influencing sounds.
Well, like Olivia
Like-
Rodrigo. Yeah, we got second generation Taylor now.
Yes.
It's wild. But
Woo, this aging thing
But,
is
yeah,
hitting me hard, man. I just can't.
but there's still stuff to keep us young, new things to look forward to, new sounds to listen to. 2025. A year from now, who knows what will be? I mean, who would have guessed a year ago that Kendrick and Drake would be in this battle?
Right.
That Sabrina Carpenter would become an A-list pop star after she'd released 5 albums that hadn't done huge numbers. You never know. There'll be some surprises.
We need a strong beef for 2025. Maybe Olivia and Gracie. Go battle. I don't know. Looking ahead.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I think people are going to try and copy that because they saw it worked.
Yeah. Well,
It worked.
it worked for one person. It's risky business.
You
Yeah.
got to shoot your shot.
It works if you come out on top. Well, that's going to do it for us. I'll see you
In 2025.
2025. All right. We will see you in 2025. Thanks for listening and watching. Get to the hook.